In the previous video, we looked at the history of fake news in an effort to understand how Facebook allowed for the prominence of biased news in the United States. In this video, we'll look at partisan journalism, which merges opinion with fact in an effort to understand how to figure out fake news. Partisan journalism really began to take hold during the 70s and 80s, once public and political opinion on the Vietnam War began to split. Conservatives became more conservative. A moderate Republican, for example, was nowhere to be found. This took place while the large news organizations began to add a new element into their reporting: analysis. This new analysis idea, rather than repeating a series of facts, added opinion to news pieces. These analyses had a liberal slant to them, meaning that the whole center viewpoint, the viewpoint of moderates, vanished. The issue was that analysis placed in factual pieces resulted in a confusing mix of fact and opinion, meaning that articles often looked like an editor's note. The emergence of cable television was a major pivot point as well. This, combined with larger mistakes in reporting, for example the WMDs in Iraq, meant that unsatisfied consumers could go elsewhere looking for news that fit their ideas and opinions, of which there was plenty. This became apparent in 1987 after the removal of the FCC Fair Doctrine policy, which advocated for fair and unbiased news for broadcast television. The emergence of cable television and the removal of these regulations meant that there was a wider array of things people and organizations could say and stand for, resulting in sources of information that fed said information to certain people with certain types of beliefs, whether it be Fox News for conservatives or MSNBC or Huffington Post for liberals. And today the issue of partisan journalism has exploded into a crazy fake news environment. Partisan individuals completely invent stories to meet political goals, creating fake news. This fake news can often be found, shared, liked, and commented upon on social media sites, including Facebook and Twitter. These platforms use computer algorithms to make the most popular content show up first on a page, meaning that the popular fake news stories are often displayed even though they're fake because they're so eye-catching and full of clickbait. And when people are drawn in without verifying the truthfulness of a story, the fake news only spreads. But let's fix that. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3 to learn concrete ways to make sure you don't fall victim to fake news, and learn ways to take action on fake news if you come across it as well. So put your learning caps on and let's make you smarter. Tip 1. Context. Context is always important. When you come across a news story, look at where you are seeing it. Is it a news website like the BBC, or is it on social media? If it's the latter, you should at least, at first, take the story with a grain of salt. As we've previously mentioned, social media platforms don't necessarily provide you with reliable news, so you'll then want to look at who published the story. Is the publisher known and reputable, such as a news source, or are they simply looking to hoodwink you? If the publisher is someone or an organization that is reputable, say, for example, the verified NASA account on Instagram providing an update on space, then you can relax a little. Finally, you'll want to look at what the story actually says. Think about anything you've encountered previously to see if the story fits within the realms of possibility. Does the story make sense? And how does the story make you feel? Is it too good to be true? Does it make you feel unnaturally angry? Generally speaking, unless it's a satire or an opinion piece, the story should be really about presenting facts objectively for true events. So if all these sudden feelings come up, the story might not be what it actually is. Tip 2. After you've established context for a story, you'll want to take a magnifying glass and look for any glaring issues that would affect credibility. Look for large typos, weird font issues, any website or layout issues. If you're on a website, take note of the URL. Does it look weird or unnatural, such as endings with a .co.com? Then the website and the provider might not be reliable. If there are no immediate issues at hand, it's time to pull out the microscope. What does the story say exactly? And who does the author use to back up what they are saying? Are there quotations with corroborating information? Journalists try to present the whole story and often use experts to present facts objectively and in context to the issue they are reporting on. If it looks like this isn't the case on the article, it's time to make a U-turn and steer clear of the story. Tip 3. Verification. If somehow the story passes all these previous detection skills, it's time to move to tip 3. In order to really check if a story is legitimate, verify. This can mean a couple of things. Firstly, check with other reliable news websites to see if the story you're seeing is being reported elsewhere and with similar facts. You can also check certain facts and assertions made within the stories on fact-checking websites like PolitiFact and Snopes.com, both of whom provide analysis and definitive answers as best they can, of course, based on facts. And voila! You've now become a master of fending off the dark arts of fake news. But there remains one thing you still must learn. What must you do if you encounter fake news on your travels in cyberspace? Click the Report or Flag Content button. Then choose the most relevant option. Political bias is a little more difficult to figure out. The biggest thing you can do here is to vary your news sources and look at a wide range of different reporting on the issue so that you can understand the big picture. In conclusion, there are 3 big tips you want to use to figure out fake news. First, context, which includes who, what, when, where, and how. Secondly, details, which include the big glaring things like typos to the less noticeable but no less important things like missing quotes and journalistic malpractice. And finally, verification through other, reliable sources and through fact checkers. And of course, click report on fake news to make it less of a problem for everyone. Because if we really want to fight fake news, we must work together.